Merry Quigmas, everyone! What's that? Did you just suggest that Christmas was more than 2 months ago? That this video is inexcusably late and that I should be embarrassed for my tardiness?
Naughty list.
Oh, no. You see, this late winter release is in fact a protest against Christmas, nay, war on Christmas.
Waging a war on Christmas.
War on Christmas.
There's a war on Christmas.
War on Christmas.
War on Christmas.
It's the war on Christmas.
Not the holiday itself, mind you, but the date on which we celebrate it. December 25th. Why? It's random, pointless, just made up. It's not like the 4th of July. That date's in the name. Couldn't be any other day. But Christmas, now that could be whenever. The first 6 months of the year don't have a single major holiday. I mean, besides Passover, if you're Jewish, and Ramadan if you're Muslim, Holi if you're Hindu, and yeah, there's Mardi Gras if you're New Orleans, Cinco de Mayo if you're Mexican-American, and there's Juneteenth if you care about human rights and freedom. But besides that, there's absolutely nothing going on in the first half of the year. But then in the last 3 months, boom, Halloween, boom, Thanksgiving, boom, Christmas, and the whole associated season, and then boom, we still have New Year's Eve. It's too much. I propose moving Christmas to late February, hell, even early March. Still gives us that wintry atmosphere that so many Americans associate with Christmas. It's not too far removed from its original date. And we get a nice big break from our families that we just saw at Thanksgiving. It's, absolutely genius.
Do you see what liberals seek to do? They're trying to disrupt and destroy traditions and replace them with their own version of some transitory nonsense.
But we're here to talk about Quigmas. Yes, Quigmas films. If you haven't seen the other videos, they are primarily straight-to-streaming holiday releases. Mostly Netflix, because I can't be bothered to watch the 100 or so Lifetime and Hallmark movies that are released every season, but we also have some HBO Max and Apple TV selections thrown into the mix. All of these films will be rated on my meticulously crafted Quigmas scale. What does that mean? Well, each letter stands for an essential element of a Christmas film. C for the community coming together. W for the sense of wonder the movie makes us feel. G for a spirit of generosity so needed in these times. G for our characters' personal growth. M for the elements of magic peppered throughout the films. S for snow and all the fun to be had in it. And S for Santa, the man who made it all happen. So let me count down the following 15 films. So, as the snow thaws, as the lesser gifts are forgotten and thrown into a closet, as we look forward to the host of boring holidays the next few months have in store for us, put on a high-scoring Quigmas film and get back that Christmas feeling. Number 15, Dolly Parton's Mountain Magic Christmas. In my first ever Quigmas video, where my revolutionary system was first implemented, Dolly Parton's Christmas on the Square made it all the way to number 2. Number 2. Yet here we are, just 2 years later, and Dolly has dropped all the way to last place. For shame, how the mighty have fallen. What happened, Dolly? Well, for one, it lost Debbie Allen, famed choreographer and veteran television director, for Joe Lazarov, also a veteran television director, but not, it seems, a very good choreographer, because the dancing was trash in this movie, compared to the beauty of Christmas on the Square. Also, Christmas on the Square had the acting talents of Christine Baranski and Treat Williams, while Mountain Magic Christmas had Tom Everett Scott and Jimmy Fallon. But mostly, I think this movie failed to achieve high marks on the Quigmas scale because it didn't really have much of a plot or characters. It had more of just a loose framework to introduce various songs for Dolly to sing. And look, some of them are good and fun, but a lot of them are just subpar. No insult intended to Dolly. So what is the plot of Dolly Parton's Mountain Magic Christmas? Well, Dolly Parton has decided that she wants to put on a live Christmas show to lift the spirits of America.
Dolly Parton, Christmas, Dollywood. I'm starting to cry just thinking about it.
Tom Everett Scott plays the put-upon producer who has to rush to get the show ready in time. Dolly and company go to Dollywood to film a few sequences, including this very embarrassing one with Jimmy Fallon, which may make you ask the question, I thought you said this was a live show. Yeah, I don't know why she's doing pre-recorded stuff either. But I guess it's just all part of the show, unless it isn't. Sometimes the musical sequence is entirely non-diegetic, like the best damn song in the movie, Go to Hell.
Go back where you belong. Get thee behind me, Satan. Just leave me alone.
It's a good song. Dolly gets into arguments with the producer and choreographer.
Whose big idea was this big-ass hoop skirt?
And starts to worry that her show just isn't going to turn out. But then she's magically visited by 3 wise old mountain men. Willie Nelson, Billy Ray Cyrus, and Zach Williams, who set her on the right path.
Everything will be fine. She's working her mountain magic.
So it gets 1 point in Community for Dolly at Dollywood doing her little song and dance. 1 point in Wonder because Dolly gives this great little monologue at the end of the movie, sort of apologizing for all of the Christian music in the show, but also explaining what it means to her. So it gets that 1 point because if I were religious, Dolly Parton is the kind of Christian I'd want to be.
Whatever you are, be that.
0 points in Generosity and Santa because neither of those topics really came up. 1 point in Growth because Dolly's able to listen to the wisdom of the Magic Mountain Men, who help guide her to make the right decisions with her show. 1 point in Magic for those same mountain men. And 1 point in Snow for the dusting of fake flakes we see in the beginning of the movie.
It's snowing! Oh my!
That brings us to a total of 5 points. Pretty bad, but things are about to get a little worse. I've decided to implement a new rule this year. A negative 5 point penalty if your film features neither Christmas Day nor Christmas Eve. I think that's fair. Christmas actually being in your Christmas movie seems pretty damn important. And that's right, I do not believe that Christmas is anywhere in Dolly Parton's Mountain Magic Christmas. It just doesn't happen in the movie.
I just want to spread a little mountain magic.
Unforgivable. That drops the score down to an unprecedented 0 points. Ouch. Better luck next time, Mrs. Parton.
Go to hell, go to hell, go to hell, go to hell, go to hell in a handbasket, 'cause heaven waits on me.
Number 14, Christmas with You. Christmas with You is kind of a ripoff. It's not going to be the first one we see this year. It's kind of like Marry Me, the Jennifer Lopez Owen Wilson movie, but instead of J-Lo marrying Owen Wilson on a whim and learning about the simple joys in life, we get Amy Garcia getting snowed in with Freddie Prinze Jr. and writing a shitty song.
I could help you with this.
Well, what?
Garcia plays singer Angelina, a fading star whose career is threatened when her label tells her to record an original Christmas song in like 2 weeks or they're going to drop her.
It's not happening. It's not like the record label is going to drop me because I don't want to Jingle Bell Rock. Are you serious?
Her following midlife crisis takes her to a local high school to visit a 14-year-old fan who sent her a message online. But due to a sudden storm, she's forced to accept an invitation to stay with that teenage fan and her father for the evening.
Since you're stuck here, why don't we have dinner at my house?
We'd love to.
Her father is music teacher Miguel, Freddie Prinze Jr. They spend their time together recording a truly awful Christmas song. The funniest part of the movie is when Angelina reads the lyric, "Home is where the heart is," and acts like it's the most profound thing she's ever heard.
They say home is where the heart is.
Look, I'm trying not to be negative here. That's not in the Quigmas spirit. But come on. Home is where the heart is?
Home is where the heart is.
Home is where the heart is?
Mama said home is where the heart is.
It's just, if you're going to have a song with basically one featured lyric, try not to make it a cliche, right? All right, let's be real. I have no evidence of this, but I suspect that this script was not originally written as a Christmas movie.
Absolutely not.
Because most of the film is building up to a different celebration, Miguel's daughter's quinceañera.
My birthday wish is to one day meet Angelina.
Let's go grant her Christmas wish.
It's got Zip and Magic and Santa. 1 point in Community for everyone coming together at her quinceañera. 2 points in Generosity because, spoilers, Angelina gives up an appearance on SNL to go to, what else, the quinceañera. 2 points in Personal Growth because besides having an extreme lettuce-only diet, Angelina was already pretty down to earth. 1 point in Wonder because they visited a Christmas tree farm that was supposed to be, very romantic. It's a stretch. And 2 points in Snow because, while there's plenty of it around, it was mostly CGI bullshit.
Who wants a shot?
Number 13, A Hollywood Christmas. 2020 gave us A California Christmas. 2021 gave us A California Christmas 2, City Lights. Unfortunately, 2022 does not finish the trilogy, but that doesn't mean we're not celebrating the holidays in the Golden State. A Hollywood Christmas, produced by the very busy Christmas production company ESX Entertainment, which is run by the chauffeur from A California Christmas, if you'll recall, stars Josh Swickard as Christopher, the new accountant hired by a film studio run by Missy Pyle to observe the production of a new Christmas movie, Cupcake Christmas, and decide where to make budget cuts.
The network wants me to find out if Christmas movies are worthwhile.
And whether or not they should shut down production entirely. This, naturally, puts him in conflict with Cupcake Christmas director Jessica, who is passionate about the Christmas film genre. Aren't we all?
Aren't you bored just talking about it?
It's not boring, it's comforting.
And bristles under the constraints of Christopher's budget cuts.
I'm going to be on set for all of production.
That's not necessary.
I'm from finance. Numbers are kind of my thing.
Despite this, they begin to fall in love, and their romance, with its ups and downs, echoes the relationship between the main characters of Cupcake Christmas.
Hello, my name is Jed. I work in the city for Landmark Real Estate. You have 30 days to vacate these premises.
I just started working with the network. I came by set today to introduce myself. Oh, and I'm supposed to tell you we are shutting down the Christmas movie division.
It's a fun concept. A Hollywood Christmas was directed by Alex Ronaravello and written by John Ducey. And this is the first of 3 collaborations between them this year. And while their creative output doesn't necessarily reach the level of good...
What is this guy, allergic to Christmas?
All 3 of their films are different. Interesting, in a way that Christmas movies usually aren't. A Hollywood Christmas has this great meta plot, with Rena, Jessica's assistant, constantly pointing out how their relationship follows the Christmas movie formula.
This whole thing is a Christmas movie. We need to follow the formula. Here's your antagonist. Big city boy meets small town girl. They have conflict. Classic romantic Christmas story. Logic doesn't save Christmas, love saves Christmas.
Boom.
I don't think this meta critique was used to its fullest extent, but I don't think I've seen it before, which is saying something with these movies. Unfortunately, a fun or interesting concept doesn't necessarily translate into a high Quigma score. It's got 3 points in Community, its best category, for the cast and crew of Cupcake Christmas coming together to finish the movie when their budget is slashed by executive producer Missy Pyle, who is planning on ending the studio's entire Christmas division.
We're shutting down the whole Christmas movie division.
What?
By the end, she agrees to keep making Christmas movies after Jessica lets her sing at the end of the film. 2 points in Generosity for basically the same reason. The crew was going beyond their job description, but they're still getting paid, right? 2 points in Wonder for the movie entertaining the idea that when Jessica makes changes to the script of her movie, upsetting the formula, her own relationship with Christopher will be affected.
We need to follow the formula.
Another interesting idea that doesn't really go anywhere. 1 point in Growth because Christopher, the bean-counting accountant,
Numbers are kind of my thing.
grows a heart and tries to use his position to help save the movie, instead of burying it like he was ordered. 2 points in Santa for a very dedicated extra. 2 points in Snow because the film ends miraculously with real snow falling in LA in July, which also earns it a point in Magic. Did I just say July? That's right. This movie takes place in summer. No Christmas? Boom! -5 points. Maybe that'll teach you a lesson. Number 12, Christmas Full of Grace. we return to Brazil for the first time since 2020's Just Another Christmas. And just like Just Another Christmas, it's kind of a weird one. Our main character, Carlinhos, comes home to his apartment with plans to propose to his longtime girlfriend. Unfortunately, he finds her canoodling in the tub with another woman.
Bebela!
For better or for worse, this isn't the setup for some bisexual menage a trois, and Carlinhos runs out of his apartment devastated by this betrayal.
Carlinhos!
Within seconds of leaving his apartment, Graça, I'm not gonna do an accent. I'll do my best. He finds Graça at his gate, begging for help. It seems she is in Rio de Janeiro on a layover to Aspen, but she just got mugged and lost her passport, cell phone, money, everything. So they come up with an utter contrivance of a deal.
Como é que eu vou explicar essa história pra minha família logo hoje?
Relaxa que eu já pensei aqui, eu já sei como é que eu vou te ajudar. Tu vai chegar lá com uma namorada nova.
Carlinhos, who is embarrassed to be seen at Christmas single, will allow Graça to come spend the holidays with him and his family, and in return, she will pretend to be his girlfriend. From the get-go, it's a terrible idea. Graça is, perhaps purposefully ironically, absolutely lacking in grace. And embarrasses Carlino over and over again in front of his snooty family.
Quer Natal, quer Natal, o leão vai te ensinar. Quer Natal, quer Natal.
But ultimately, Graça's charm somehow wins them over, and Carlinhos falls in love. But then the bomb is dropped.
Essa mulher é uma mentirosa. O que você tá escondendo de mim, hein?
In a twist that really makes no sense at all, it turns out that Graça was never mugged. She never lost her things. She was pretending. Not, so she says, so she can prey upon the good intentions of an innocent man, but because she's some sort of do-gooder who every Christmas finds some sad sack and makes him happy for the holidays.
Preencher o Carlinhos com o espírito de Natal.
It's really weird, and I think it has something to do with her father being a mall Santa Claus when she was a child. Well, anyway, Carlinhos gets over it all and they have a happy ending. Graça is played by Jessica Kiane? Better known as GK. She's obviously already very famous outside of acting. She has millions of followers on Instagram. I think she's a singer or something. Her whole vibe is really like late aughts Disney Channel or like a certain type of YouTube content creator. Specifically, I'm thinking of Lele Pons. She has this very wacky, comedic sensibility that I always assumed was trying to appeal to a younger audience.
Catch it if you love me.
But Lele Pons is Venezuelan, so maybe that's just how they do it in South America. To be honest, I, like most non-Latino Americans, barely have any idea what's going on in South American pop culture, and unfortunately, Christmas Full of Grace isn't inspiring me to look deeper.
You don't get it!
I'm sure Brazilians would argue that this is not the best film their country has to offer. The movie gets 2 points in Community for being so focused on family, even though for most of the film, the family is portrayed rather negatively. It gets 0s in Wonder, Magic, and Snow. Snow is going to be a big one in Brazil that it'll never get points in. 2 points in Generosity for Graça's weird, benevolent scam she plays on people. It's a stretch, but I guess she's well-intentioned. 2 points in Growth for Carlinhos getting some self-respect and not debasing himself to get a promotion for his family's company. And also for his mother, the proud matriarch, stepping in and encouraging his relationship with Graça. And as for Santa, 3 points for Graça's daddy, the mall Santa, who has this extended flashback sequence that is used as the basis for her character's motivation, and I find that hysterical. Number 11, The Noel Diary. All right, so this is a wild one. Early on in this movie, we discover that this hunky romance author, Jacob Turner, has a mother who has died, and he goes to her house to take care of her things. She's kind of a hoarder, so they tell us. I mean, it didn't look that bad to me. I didn't see a single jar of piss. And so it's taking him some time to pack everything up. It honestly isn't a terribly believable scenario. It turns out, for reasons that will be revealed to us later in the film, he was estranged from his parents. He says he hasn't seen them for decades.
It's been over 30 years.
Including his still living father. But what I don't understand is, why is he packing up her shit? Why isn't he hiring some people to help out? I mean, if his relationship with them is so bad, you'd think, it wouldn't be that personal to him. Decades, right? Furthermore, we find out that he also missed his mother's funeral, even though he was notified shortly after her death. So he can't have been very close to her, right? But people act strangely when family members die. So, I can't say it's totally out of the realm of possibility, but I will say he's not terribly beat up about it. Coincidentally, completely unrelated to the death of his mother, a woman named Rachel appears at his mother's house, looking for information about her birth mother, who was a nanny for Jacob when he was a kid.
I'm trying to find my mother. She used to live here. She worked for them.
Your mother worked for my parents.
From what I can tell, she was actually their nanny.
Jacob has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. He acts like he has no memory whatsoever about a nanny even existing. But he's a good guy, so he decides to help Rachel out. They find Rachel's mother's old diary and discover that her mother's name is Noel.
My name is Noel Ellis. I'm 17 years old and I'm having a baby.
Naturally. But the search for Noel takes a backseat for a half hour, because then they decide to go visit Jacob's father, Scott, ostensibly to learn more about where Noel could be, but really so Jacob could have this decades-in-the-making blowout argument with his dad. So, what caused this father-son falling out? Well, it's the dumbest fucking thing. Jacob hates his father because 35 years earlier, he let his brother climb a big-ass tree to hang this Christmas bauble, and he ended up falling to his death. That's it. I mean, it's fucked up, obviously. Childhood death, right? Scarring. I get it. It's traumatic. But it was 35 years ago, and it was an accident, and it happened when you were a kid. I don't know, it just seems like a long time to hold on to a grudge. Eventually, after this whole subplot resolves, Jacob and Rachel have an argument and go their separate ways. But Jacob decides he's going to track down Noel by himself. He finds her working at a hospital and tells her how much she meant to him as a child, and how he didn't know how he would have ever gotten over his brother's death without her. Excuse me? When Rachel asked him about her, he had no fucking clue what she was talking about. What is this bullshit? He is such a fucking liar.
Jake, do you know what this is?
That was in a box marked personal. I just kind of picked it up. I didn't look at it. What is it?
It's a really weird way to end a pretty weird movie, but that might have something to do with the director of the film, Charles Shire. In some interview I saw, he said, "It's not the type of movie I would have made," or something to that effect. And it's pretty evident in the content of the film. It doesn't feel like your usual Christmas type of bullshit. It's a different, more competent kind of bullshit.
Not bad.
The director of this film, by the way, also directed Father of the Bride and wrote movies like Smokey and the Bandit and Private Benjamin.
You have any, Private Benjamin or Smokey and the Bandit stories to tell me?
No, I don't necessarily think those movies are classics, but they prove that he has more experience than the usual guns for hire that direct these types of movies. Anyway, on to the Quigmas score. 1 point in Community because Jacob's neighbor helped him out a little. I don't know. No wonder. 2 points for generosity since the premise of the movie involves someone helping a person they didn't even know. But if that person wasn't a pretty woman, I'm not sure how generous Jacob would have been. 1 point for growth, just because Jacob kinda, sorta made up with his father. 0 magic. 3 points for snow. There's at least one scene where people were making snowmen and throwing snowballs. There was a wintry atmosphere. And 2 points for a fake Santa giving away presents. Number 10. Delivery by Christmas. Delivery by Christmas pisses me off. It really does. Last year, Poland gave us the truly awful David and the Elves. And this year, they gave us the awfully mediocre Delivery by Christmas. A movie so dull that when I tried to look up the trailer to refresh my memory before writing this here sentence, I discovered that a trailer didn't exist. No joke, I spent over an hour scouring the internet for a trailer for this movie. So that's why you're not getting any footage of the stupid fucking movie. No trailer. What world do we live in? Netflix didn't have a trailer, nor YouTube or Vimeo or goddamn Daily Motion. The production company didn't have a trailer on their website. The actors, directors, producers, no trailers posted on any social media, not on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Zilch. And I'm telling you all of this because this story is more interesting than the plot of Delivery by Christmas. It gets 3 points in Community for a delivery driver helping everyone on her route get the right Christmas presents after a love-spurned manager sabotaged her labels. But then she also forgives this creepy, fucking weird-ass manager by the end of the movie, which I guess is a nice thing to do if letting people walk all over you is considered nice. So a couple points in generosity too, I guess. 2 points in growth, though I don't remember why. Something to do with discovering the real meaning of Christmas, I'm sure. 1 point in magic for when the delivery driver gives a fertility idol to an old sexless married couple. It seems to kind of sort of spark some energy in the relationship. And 1 point in Santa for ringing a bell on a street corner. Goose eggs and wonder and snow. No fucking trailer. Ridiculous. Number 9. A Christmas Mystery. This is our second film in the Rana Ravello-Ducey Christmas trio, and it's quite a bit better than A Hollywood Christmas. A Christmas Mystery, it first caught my eye because of its star. No, not the strangely recognizable Eddie Cibrian? Where have I seen him before? And not even Beau Bridges, who has, interestingly, twice the number of credits as his brother Jeff, probably because he starred in too many of these types of movies.
Absolutely not!
And not even the beloved Oscar Nunez. Nunez? Fuck me. Why can I don't know how to say a single person's fucking name. Nunez, right? Nunez. I don't know. Let's say Nunez. And not even the beloved Oscar Nunez. Because frankly, I don't give a shit about The Office. Sorry, millennials.
Are you serious? Ugh.
No, what caught my eye was our main star, Violet McGraw. The little girl from Megan. The best movie of 2023 so far. Anyway, she's fine. The plot of the film is simple in essence, but has a quite strange element. The only element that really makes it a Christmas movie. Because just like Christmas with You and many other Christmas movies, you could change one thing about the script and the movie could be taking place on any other day. That one Christmas element in A Christmas Mystery is that it takes place in this town that was allegedly visited by Santa Claus, 100 years ago. And on that day, Santa must have hit a tree or something because some bells dropped from his sleigh and they were picked up by a local boy. And then some sort of cult sprung up around them.
A small surprise before the ceremony starts.
And so now every year during Christmas, people leave notes with the bells, with their Christmas wishes, hoping that when the bell is rung during this weird ceremony, the bells would make their wishes come true.
That's why people come to our town, to see the bells and to make their Christmas wish. Okay, are there any questions?
So obviously the success rate of these bells is suspect. Otherwise it would be a town of billionaires, right? They'd be all living the high life. But I mean, it's basically just a suburban town, nice little town. So I don't really get why people are so worked up about it.
It's all because of the golden jingle bells.
But whatever, local legend. So in the present day, Santa's bells have been moved to a museum. And they're watched over by Oscar, the museum manager, and George Bottoms.
Hi, Mr. Bottoms.
Hey, Violet.
The security guard. But shortly before Christmas, the bells are stolen.
Somebody stole the bells.
The town is, of course, devastated by the disappearance of the bells, and the sheriff immediately launches an investigation. Unfortunately for the security guard, George Bottoms.
Hi, Mr. Bottoms.
Hey, Violet.
The sheriff looks at him as the prime suspect because he had access and because he has a record. When his home is searched, they discover some compromising evidence. The case the bells were stored in. And so George Bottoms is taken in.
George Bottoms.
Wait a minute,
You're
guys.
under arrest.
And that's pretty good evidence, right? But my question is, they never really establish a motive for why George Bottoms would want to steal the bells. They suggest at some point that it's because he could sell them for, great monetary value, but they're just fucking old rusty bells.
The bells.
Who's buying these bells?
The bells.
Who would he sell these bells to?
Santa's bells.
What fence would give him any significant amount of money for these stupid old bells? Because, okay, even if I was going to sell them, who outside of this town would I sell them to? And if I have a buyer in town, don't you think they're gonna, tell everybody? It just seems like a really bad plan.
No one is going to rest until the bells are back where they belong.
Why would he do that? Furthermore, he could just ring those bells whenever he wants. I mean, if it's about their magical power.
My wish came true.
These bells must be magical.
He can just ring those all the livelong day. Constantly be throwing wish after wish after wish. First wish probably should be, man, I wish I had a better fucking job than security guard at the small town museum. Actually, that doesn't sound bad. I take that back. It sounds kind of nice. Anyway, George Bottoms has been taken into custody, and now his children are without their father on Christmas. His children, by the way, are his elder son, Harrison Bottoms, and his younger son, Kenny Bottoms.
What do you think that was for? Probably for reaching into your butt. Kenny.
Have I mentioned that their name is Bottoms?
Mr. Bottoms.
Bottoms.
George Bottoms.
I don't have a joke, just a silly name.
Mr. Bottoms.
Kenny Bottoms, the younger son, is friends with the sheriff's daughter, Violet. Violet believes George is innocent, and she and Kenny set out to prove his innocence. And throughout the film, continually gets in the way of her father's investigation as she Harriet the spies all through town, eliminating suspect after suspect until she narrows in on the town's true bell-snatching fiend. It was the sheriff's deputy. On to the points. It gets 3 points in community for the big ringing of the bells ceremony that everyone gathers around for every year. 2 points in wonder for the existence of Santa's bells.
Santa's bells.
And the story behind them. And also for the kid detectives, like the aforementioned Harriet, the legendary Encyclopedia Brown, Nancy Drew, and the boys Hardy. Kid detectives have always given me that feeling of wonder, that a child, if equipped with enough notebooks and corkboards and just the right amount of spunk, could solve an honest-to-goodness mystery. If that's not wondrous, I don't know what is. 2 points in generosity for Violet spending her free time and putting herself in danger to defend her friend's father from a false charge. 2 points in growth for the older son forgiving Mr. Bottoms,
George Bottoms,
for his past faults and recognizing how he's changed for the better. Nothing for magic, because I don't believe that those fucking bells do anything.
These bells must be magical.
1 point for snow. There's a little in the beginning that quickly goes away. And 2 points for Santa for dropping off his bells in the beginning of the flick. On to the next one. Number 8, Christmas on Mistletoe Farm. I love that this movie exists. I hate it. I don't think that it's good. But I love that there are still people who are willing to get together to make something barely competent, utterly ridiculous, but halfway entertaining, and best of all, actually sell it to Netflix. I have no idea how much Netflix pays, but it must feel pretty good to see your shitty movie show up on the big daddy of all streaming services. All independent filmmakers should get a small boost in confidence after watching this movie. But what is it about? Well, the plot is deceptively complex. You might even say poorly plotted. But here's the long and short. Matt Cunningham is a widowered father of 5 working at a consulting firm and clearly struggling to keep it together. Matt is tasked with creating the perfect pitch for an important client, and his boss threatens to fire him if he doesn't come up with something excellent by Christmas.
This had better be the best pitch that Cunningham has ever written.
To add on to the pressure, Matt discovers that his father, whom he never had a relationship with, has passed away and has left him property in the countryside known as Mistletoe Farm. He visits the farm with his children and discovers the farm has a house that's falling apart, dozens of animals that need to be cared for, and a single farmhand named Bino.
I am Bino. Pleased to meet you.
To help him run it all until he can figure out what's he going to do with the place. Bino. Bino is the heart and soul of this movie. He is the most annoying character imaginable.
You can help us save the farm!
But this actor is so committed to his role and so much more interesting than Matt Cunningham that he has to be commended for this role. Bino is a hyper-energetic freak who gets to sleep in the barn for free in lieu of pay. If this weren't a children's film, I'd know that he has sex with the farm animals. But since it is a children's film, it's just implied that he does.
Pretend I'm a big, voluptuous pig.
Bino, along with the rest of the little town around the farm, is obsessed with Christmas and community, and they desperately want Matt to stay here permanently.
Merry Crimble! Ho, ho, ho!
So much so that when they discover that Matt plans on selling the farm to property developers, they form a mob to drive the potential buyers out of town. It's a truly lunatic move. Then comes the twist. A twist of Shyamalanian proportions. Turns out that Matt's dad is not dead. He faked his death to get Matt to come to town, and he's been spying on him this whole time.
What a twist!
It was all a lie. The whole town was in on it. He says that he wanted to bring his family back together again. But this is clearly just another manipulative tactic from a clearly narcissistic, psychopathic, deadbeat dad. Because this wasn't just him. He got the whole town in on it. Everyone knew that his dad wasn't dead. They were just playing along with this cruel prank in the guise of, I don't know, giving him the gift of showing him how great living in cozy little towns are. And of course it works. Matt quits his job and becomes a farmer. Now, I get the message. My favorite video game is Stardew Valley. Of course I get it. But in that game, Grandpa didn't fake his death. You quit your piece of shit job because you wanted to, not because you were manipulated into it by a crazy countryside cult.
Ho, ho, ho!
This is a nightmare!
So yeah, the community sure as hell comes together. There's no doubt about that. I begrudgingly give it 5 points, but I'm not happy about it. I refuse to give it any more than 1 point in generosity, because everything those townfolk did for the Cunningham family was rooted in greed, with the exception of Beano's helping with the farm animals, which he did purely out of the love of his heart.
I am Beano!
I give it 1 point for wonder, for the scene where the kids look up in the sky and imagine their dead mom as one of the stars.
Look at the stars. The great moms of the past. Look down on us from those stars.
Growth. Matt did man up and quit his abusive job, so I gotta give him some credit there. 3 points. There's actually a little bit of magic in this movie. I didn't mention it before, but Mistletoe Farm does actually grow mistletoe, and it's supposed to be capable of making people fall in love. It's not a big plot point. 1 point. There wasn't any snow. Does it snow in England? It must, right? I don't know. But you wouldn't know it from watching this movie. As for Santa, well, that's a little complicated. At one point, Matt's dad is disguised as Father Christmas, a fat man with a white beard and a red suit. But is Father Christmas the same as Santa? Wikipedia says they're not, but I don't know. I'll give it a star for my ignorance of British traditions. Am I saying stars? Points. I said points. Number 7. The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Frankly, I'm burnt out on Marvel.
That is called a practical joke.
After spending the first 20 years of my life dedicated to everything that company put out, I just find it difficult to really gin up any real enthusiasm for the MCU. That being said, I still try to keep up with everything, if only out of a sense of nostalgia. But I was quite pleased to hear about the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. It's one of those great concepts that famed director and recent DC defector James Gunn is so good at coming up with. God, if anyone can make the DC movies good, it's going to be that guy. The holiday special follows fan-favorite characters Drax and Mantis as they travel to Earth to get Peter Quill, Star-Lord, a Christmas gift. You see, Christmas isn't celebrated much outside of our planet, and they think that Peter would be cheered up if they got everyone together to surprise him with a Christmas celebration. And that starts with finding him the perfect gift. And of course, they decide to get the pop culture-obsessed Peter, his favorite actor, Kevin Bacon.
You're coming with us. That's a Christmas present.
Which Peter receives with mixed reaction. But Drax and Mantis do more than get him a gift. They get their entire community together to create this wonderful Christmas atmosphere. Lights, music, snow, gift-giving. It's all very cute. So it gets 4 points in community for this charming get-together. 2 points in wonder for the fact that they were able to pull off this little party. 5 points in generosity for Kevin Bacon being so understanding about his little kidnapping, and for the Guardians' whole community embracing this tradition of giving meaningful gifts to one another. 2 points in growth for Mantis gaining the courage to tell Peter that they're siblings, which is a plot point that I apparently never picked up on in the movies. And for Peter's adopted father, Yondu, for realizing that caring for one another doesn't make you weak. 0 points in magic, despite the MCU containing multiple sorcerers and witches and magic makers of all kinds. 1 point in snow, because Mantis was able to rig up some sort of snow lever. And 1 point in Santa, who makes a brief appearance on Earth in the form of an inflated figure. Number 6. The Claus Family 2. The sequel to last year's Claus Family is not any better than the first. The unfortunate truth is that low-effort films made for kids truly are the worst types of movies. I don't want to insult the people who made this movie. I'm sure that for many of them, a whole hell of a lot of effort went into this flick. I mean, just look at this. They got a whole orchestra to make some beautiful, generic music, and I don't want to discount that. But there isn't a single original idea here, and that is, frankly, unforgivable. So if you didn't watch the first, here's all you need to know. Jules Claus and his grandfather, Noel Claus, are co-Santa Clauses. The job is hereditary, but because Jules' father died young, the mantle is falling on him early. So this is his second year as a Santa, and he's already kind of disillusioned with the whole thing. He finds a letter from a little girl named Marie. Marie. You know, it's Belgian, so who knows how they pronounce. I'm gonna pronounce it Marie. He finds a letter from a little girl named Marie, who asks for Santa to make her divorced parents get back together. Jules goes to his grandfather to see how they can make this happen. And he's like, dude, we get millions of these kinds of letters. We can't fix people's relationships, right? And seriously, how could they? They aren't magic, you know? Like, everything they do seems to be some sort of technological marvel. The fairies fly with jetpacks. They don't have a sleigh. They travel the world with a teleporting snow globe. So it's not as if they, could shoot Marie's parents with Cupid's arrow, right?
De kerstman kan alles, als hij tenminste probeert. En dan ga ik bewijzen ook.
But Jules is incensed. He thinks that this is the sort of thing that they should be focused on doing, not giving people meaningless gifts. And right on! Fuck capitalism. Fuck materialism, right? So Jules abandons their work, and along with a couple of elves, they conspire to get Marie's parents back together. And by the end of the film, it kind of works. They don't make up exactly, but they learn to be good co-parents, because in the beginning of the film, they couldn't even speak with one another. Unfortunately, Jules loses his anti-materialist point of view after Grandpa shows him how gifts can bring people together. So, personal growth, I guess. And that means we should move to the scores. 4 points for growth, because of the aforementioned materialist propaganda, but also because of the growth of Marie's parents, and Grandpa Noel's realization that sometimes Santa needs to do more than just give gifts. 0 points in community. I only give it 1 point for magic, despite all the crazy stuff that happens, because it's more Iron Man than Doctor Strange. 1 point for wonder, because the lack of magic really zaps that feeling. I did kind of like when the elves were driving around in a little RC car, though. 5 points for generosity. I mean, Jules is an idiot, but he went out of his way, put himself on the line to try and do an altruistic thing for people he didn't even know. So I gotta give him credit. 1 point for snow. It was barely on the ground. 3 points for Santa, because even though there's 2 Santa Clauses in this fucking movie, they're both pretty lame.
Zijn we weg, kerstman?
Zeker, kerstman.
Number 5. The Boss Baby Christmas Bonus. I didn't want to watch this, but I wanted to watch anything approaching feature length on Netflix. And Boss Baby Christmas Bonus is 46 minutes long, which some people wouldn't consider feature length, but it's longer than the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, so I couldn't justifiably ignore it. As a grown-ass man, I had no idea that there's a whole Boss Baby media franchise. Hell, I didn't even know it had more than one movie. But yeah, turns out that there are 2 different series that have run on Netflix last year. And this Christmas bonus is, I guess, some sort of spin-off of the TV show. So it doesn't have the A-list voice cast, no Alec Baldwin, which I'm sure they're happy about right now. And the animation is definitely not up to a theatrical standard. I mean, I assume the movie looked better. I've never seen the movie. I don't know anything about Boss Baby. This is my first and only exposure to anything Boss Baby. And I was surprised by how political it got. In Christmas Bonus, Boss Baby, who, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have another name,
This is my brother Theodore. Same last name. One less T?
Goes with his brother to see Santa Claus at the local department store. But this isn't just any old mall Santa. They're going to see the Santa Claus.
Boss Baby, Ron.
And when they get there, it's a surprisingly sparse turnout for what I imagine should be a pretty big event. But hey, maybe he isn't advertising his authenticity. Turns out Boss Baby and Santa Claus both worked at Baby Corp together.
Former Baby Corp.
What is Baby Corp? I do not know. I have not seen the Boss Baby films.
Baby Corp developed a new formula that can turn a grown-up back into a baby for 48 hours.
But Santa decided, much to Boss Baby's disgust, he was going to give gifts to children for free and went off to do his own thing, which, became Christmas, I guess. And I guess he brought a bunch of other people along with him from Baby Corp because it turns out all of the elves that are making the gifts are not elves, but in fact, babies.
Whoa, they are babies?
Are the babies in Baby Corp immortal? I think they are. I don't know why I think that.
You want me to be a baby again?
I'm sure the concept of talking babies and capitalist babies and baby corporations is all well established in the movie. I don't really understand any of it. I'm just trying to roll with it without getting too bogged down in the lore. So Boss Baby accidentally finds his way to the North Pole and decides he's going to help the elves, the babies, increase efficiency.
We take pride in our wrapping paper.
Not anymore. Boom! Efficiency!
Which, seems sort of soulless, but nothing wrong with being more efficient, I suppose. As Boss Baby walks around and talks to all the elf babies, he learns they're upset because they don't get credit for all the toys they make. Boss Baby whips them up into an anti-Santa mob, which is weird because I thought Boss Baby would be pro-business, but he's leading a workers' revolt against an unjust CEO and Santa Claus. It seems weird. It's weird. Santa Claus gets all sad and mopey and puts himself on the naughty list, and then just leaves the North Pole in some sort of passive-aggressive, self-imposed exile, because then the elves start freaking out. They get pissed at Boss Baby because it's Christmas Eve and they don't think they can get all the gifts out without Santa. Boss Baby tries to train a goose to deliver presents, but it doesn't go so well in testing. So he's forced to go groveling to Santa to come back, which again is kind of like begging the CEO to come back to a company because the workers are incapable of running it themselves. That's the message they're sending, right? I don't like it. But maybe it's too much to ask to have a kid's show make Santa out to be an immoral tyrant. Yeehaw! It gets 4 points in Community for the elf babies coming together against Santa. It would have been a full 5 points if he was ousted for good. 2 points in Wonder for the feeling you get walking through Santa's workshop in the North Pole. 2 points in Generosity for Santa and the baby laborers working for free to give kids gifts on Christmas. It still feels like a job, though, so I can't give them too many points.
And already our productivity is up 20%.
We might actually get a nog break.
2 points in Growth because Boss Baby learns to love Christmas, and Santa agrees to allow the baby elves to sign the toys they create, finally getting credit for all the work they do. 0 points Magic. Santa doesn't even ride a flying sleigh. 3 points in Snow for the ever-present snowy atmosphere. And 3 points for Santa, the benevolent baby slaver himself.
He's exploiting baby labor to make those toys.
Oh, Boss Baby. I'm just trying to spread joy and happiness.
Number 4, Falling for Christmas. So this is actually the first film I watched for this year's Quigmas viewing, and what a way to start things off. I'm kidding, of course. I wish I could say this was a great return to the silver screen for Lindsay Lohan. Lohan. Nobody even says Lo. It's Lohan or Lohan, right? I wish I could say this was a great return to the silver screen for Lindsay Lohan since she quit movies in 2013. But this film is neither great nor her return.
Would you consider moving back to Hollywood? No.
Her last movie was a straight-to-streaming horror movie that no one's ever heard of called Among the Shadows. But this is Quigmas. Stop with the negativity. Enough. Suffice to say, if you're a fan of Lindsay Lohan, then her mere presence may be enough to win you over, and that's just fine with me. Falling for Christmas is very clearly a ripoff of Overboard, where the upper-class snob Goldie Hawn has an accident, gets amnesia, and is tricked into acting like blue-collar Kurt Russell's wife and mother to his kids. Falling for Christmas has Lindsay Lohan playing a Paris Hilton-esque hotel heiress named Sierra Belmont, who suffers amnesia after a skiing accident. She's discovered by Jake Russell, the owner of the humble North Star Lodge, who takes her in and shows her a more down-to-earth sort of life. One where she actually has to cook and clean for herself, and isn't doted upon by her father's employees. Blah, 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 she finds love and learns to be a better person. But I want to talk about a different plot, the subplot. Why are the subplots always more interesting in these movies? So Sierra has a boyfriend in the beginning of the film, one Tad Fairchild, an internet influencer who's clearly a bad match for her. When Sierra has her accident, she gets separated from Tad, who becomes lost in the woods. The rest of his story involves him coming into contact with a local poacher and learning to appreciate this mountain man's rugged ways. It's kind of cute, actually, and slightly homoromantic.
Oh, you're so strong. What about you? Don't you worry about me. I got big feet.
But it doesn't really go anywhere. When Tad returns to civilization, he basically becomes the same guy he was before. So much for personal growth. But when Sierra breaks up with him, he ends up coming on to one of her little stooges instead.
Terry? Yep. What are you doing for New Year's?
Which was weird. So he's bisexual? I mean, that's cool, but this dude right here had barely any interactions with Tad in the entire film. Why does he become Tad's new romantic target instead of the far more obvious mountain man that he spent so much time with?
Tad, let's keep in touch, buddy.
They could have even thrown in a dated Brokeback Mountain reference.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Why don't you?
A missed opportunity. 4 points in Community. They have a sort of It's a Wonderful Life ending where the whole town comes together to donate money to save the North Star Lodge.
If the rest of the season's this way, I don't think...
We just need a little patience.
What we need is a miracle.
Haven't you heard that? Christmas is the time for miracles.
And any movie that gets compared to It's a Wonderful Life should have a big score. 1 point in Wonder for the same reason it's getting 1 point in Santa. This guy. Who is he? Is he Santa Claus? Does he do magic? No. He rubs his nose and acts like he's making wishes come true. But really, I just think he's a creepy old man. 3 points in Generosity for the community's donations. But I cut it down a bit because, these folks are all rich, right? Skiing is for rich people, right? I don't know. It's always felt that way to me. So they got the money to spare. I'm still giving them credit, but it's kind of like a Jeff slave labor Bezos saying he's going to donate all of his money when he dies. Like, okay, cool. You could literally donate 99.999% of your money and you'd have vastly more money than I do.
I would love for it to be after I'm dead.
They'll be fine. So, generosity is great, but it means more when it means something. 3 points in personal growth because Sierra Belmont wasn't so bad to begin with, and her evolution into a normal, nice woman wasn't terribly convincing. And 4 points for snow because they were at a ski resort. Snow was everywhere. Number 3, Scrooge, A Christmas Carol. Oh, this is interesting. I had no idea until I was researching, that is to say, reading Wikipedia, that this movie is based on a 1970 musical, also called Scrooge. Huh, who knew? Never heard of that movie in my life. But it makes sense, because the music in this flick ain't half bad. I mean, it's cheesy musical music, which isn't really my speed, but better than you'd expect for a low-budget Netflix holiday flick that got next to no advertising. I'm being a little unfair. It's actually quite star-studded, at least if you consider British people stars. Luke Evans, Olivia Colman, Jessie Buckley, Johnny Flynn, a who's who of... That person's familiar. Scrooge making it all the way to number 3 isn't very surprising, because A Christmas Carol is a virtually perfect Christmas film, at least in concept. It's sort of the standard on which the Quigmas scale was created, so of course it was going to end up high. And Scrooge, despite being an animated remake of a 70s musical, is still the same old story that I've seen time and time again. One wonders what the purpose of remaking it is.
This is far more agreeable than what your predecessors had me endure.
There's already a pretty decent animated one. There's already the musical version. We all know that the Muppets perfected it back in the 90s, so why do we need another?
And the worst of the worst,
the most hated and cursed,
is the one that we call Scrooge.
You know the story. Ebenezer Scrooge is an evil old rich man, is there any other kind. He fucks over his employee, Bob Cratchit, who can barely scrape 2 pennies together, much less pay to get his crippled son medical treatment. But old Scroogey doesn't give a damn. Until, of course, he's visited on Christmas Eve by the ghosts of Christmases past, present, and yet to come. I take back what I said about this movie not bringing anything new to the table. The ghosts themselves are all very interesting in concept. Christmas Past is like a shape-shifting, wax monster.
I've gone mad.
Christmas Present is, not that interesting, but he's a big blue dude, which is cool. And Christmas Yet to Come, well, he's just the Grim Reaper, which is pretty standard.
You are something else entirely.
The ghosts show Scrooge that if he continues to live his life the way he is, people will suffer, he will die, and the world will celebrate his passing. Christmas morning, he wakes up a changed man and gives Bob Cratchit a raise or something. I don't know, but he sure seems a lot happier. Oh, he also has a cute dog. 2 points in Community for everyone coming together to celebrate Scrooge's death in the Christmas Yet to Come. 2 points in Wonder for the journey Scrooge is taken on by the Christmas spirits. 2 points in Generosity, not just for Scrooge, who, buys everyone a Christmas ham or whatever, but also for Bob Cratchit donating what little money he has to some local orphans. Considering his boy Tiny Tim was dying, maybe he should have thrown that into the old savings account, but hey, he do he. 2 points in Growth because, I just don't buy Scrooge's journey here. It's just... It all happens in one night. He turns from an evil old rich dude to, a benevolent millionaire. It's just a bit quick. But that's the story, isn't it?
In it. The word in it is frequently used by young people in the streets of Britain whenever they want support or agreement with something that they've said.
5 points in Magic because of, well, all the freaking magic. 4 points in Snow. There's a good deal of it. With snowballs and snow angels and all the good stuff. 0 points for Santa. Sometimes, we've discovered, the ghost of Christmas Present looks like Father Christmas, who may be kind of like Santa, the jury's still out. But this guy ain't Santa, Jack. Number 2, Spirited. Remember what I said about A Christmas Carol movies always making it near the top of the Quigmas list? Well, this is one of them, unbeknownst to me. I saw Spirited before I even knew it was going to be included on this list. It was a regal Monday night mystery movie, which is the thing they do where they play new movies that they think no one would go to otherwise. I see just about everything playing at my local theater, thanks to Regal Unlimited.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
I can see any movie, anytime, with no weekly limits. It's comedies, sci-fi, horror, dramas. I see them all. And I even enjoy animated musicals. So, of course, I went to go see this. So, Spirited, being the mystery movie, was a complete surprise to me. I think I had heard of it a little. I think I knew that it was starring Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, but that's it. I didn't realize it was a whole Christmas Carol riff, and I sure as hell didn't know it was going to be a goddamn musical.
Why are they singing?
Oh, because this is a musical.
Aw, come on, really?
The idea is that the spirits that were behind the rehabilitative hauntings of Ebenezer Scrooge, as seen in A Christmas Carol, have continued to operate well into the modern day. They are now a whole company dedicated to changing the lives of one reprehensible person every year. The ghost of Christmas Present, played by Will Ferrell, has led the team for decades, but he seems to be nearing retirement. He wants to go out with a bang, so he selects Clint Briggs, Ryan Reynolds, a so-called unredeemable, as this year's target, to prove that anyone can change.
People don't change.
Clint Briggs runs a marketing firm, or something of that nature. He specializes in fabricating controversies to stir up conflict that will somehow funnel people to the product he's marketing. For instance, he creates some sort of anti-fake Christmas tree controversy, so people will be shamed into buying real Christmas trees for the Christmas tree lobby that he was hired by. I don't know about this one. Really comes across as a screenwriter grasping for some real modern concept, but it just falls flat. The fact is, Clint Briggs is the same smarmy asshole that Ryan Reynolds has been trotting out in virtually every role for the last 20 years. Your mileage may vary, but I'm fucking tired of it.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
So, Christmas Present and the team spend months researching Clint, building different sets to bring him into, planning out his rehabilitation, and it's all set to go off on Christmas Eve, just like A Christmas Carol. Except that, unlike Scrooge, Briggs isn't really affected by all of the ghosts and chains and visions of suffering people. He's very much above it all. He reacts with an eye roll and sarcasm and exasperation with the whole ordeal.
Yes, dude. I see it. It's so disturbing. I'm so sad. Are we done? Can I go?
It's really fucking frustrating to watch. Maybe it's because Ryan Reynolds is handsome and popular, but to see him outwit Christmas Present over and over again just pisses me off. We get it. He's cool, unflappable, unfazed. But does watching a popular, successful man continue to succeed even when faced with the force of an undead company of ghosts, does that sound satisfying to the viewer? It wasn't to me. But eventually, of course, Briggs learns the error of his ways. He's shown a vision of the future.
You been Christmas Carol, bitch!
Earlier in the film, he encouraged his niece, a character who I haven't mentioned up to this point because, honestly, she's not a big part of the movie, to release a nasty video of her opponent in the class president race. The Ghost of Christmas Future shows him that when she releases that video, that boy will take his own life. Deep stuff. I mean, I laughed at that scene. It was the funniest part of the movie, honestly. Not that teen suicide is ever funny. That's not the funny part. It's just in the context of the film, I'll stop. It gets 2 points in Community for a heavily featured Christmas party, as well as the ghosts working together on this altruistic project for seemingly no pay. 2 points in Generosity for the same reason. Also because, spoilers, Clint Briggs sacrifices his life to save the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Thank you.
Who is really the late Ebenezer Scrooge himself. Yep. That's the big reveal. Turns out Scrooge dies a few weeks after the events of A Christmas Carol, so he has been plagued with doubt as to if he ever really changed as a living human being.
Unredeemable.
So somehow he turns back human and gets together with Octavia Spencer, who is charming and lovable in this movie, but she's not terribly relevant to the plot. 3 points in Wonder because of the way Spirited Headquarters was presented. I love the idea of these ghosts creating actual physical sets duplicating points in their targets' lives. Having to memorize lines and set up cues, it's all very wonderful. 3 points in Magic because despite the practical nature of all the work of Spirited Inc., they still use magic to, stop time and bring people back to life and shit, so yeah, it's a mix. 3 points in Growth for Scrooge getting over his self-doubt and for the now deceased Briggs using his marketing skills to good use as the new Ghost of Christmas Present. 4 points in Snow because there sure is a hell of a lot of it. 0 points in Santa because Dickens hates Santa, apparently.
Unredeemable.
Number 1, I believe in Santa. It took director Alex Ronaravello and writer John Ducey 3 tries, but they were able to make one of their movies get the top spot for Quigmas 2022.
So excited. Such a big night.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
This time, the Deucemeister stars.
Who is John Ducey?
Along with his real-life wife, Christina Moore. She plays Lisa, a writer for the Mile High E-Zine, a small-time internet-only publication in Denver, Colorado. Yes, an e-zine. And yes, very small-time. It appears to have 5 employees maximum, and their office is smaller than a classroom portable. E-zine. I find that very quaint. Who's doing e-zines nowadays? What makes an e-zine different from just any website that has articles? I've posted articles online. Am I an e-ziner? Anyway, Lisa seems to be doing pretty well for herself at the e-zine, primarily writing holiday-themed pieces.
Christmas.
In fact, the film begins on the 4th of July, after Lisa has submitted her Independence Day article to her editor, declaring the holiday better than Christmas. No laborious dinners, no compulsory gift-giving, etc., etc. Turns out, she hates Christmas for reasons I will get to shortly. On the 4th of July, she goes to a fair of some sort, where her daughter, Ella, is participating in some sort of dance show. And wait, who is that? Violet McGraw, the little girl from Megan. Yes, Violet is in another Ronaravello Ducey joint, although in a smaller role than her HBO Max film, A Christmas Mystery. Ella gets separated from her mom and is approached by Tom, John Ducey, who's running a free legal advice booth with his partner, Asan. Before Tom can help Ella find her mother, Lisa sees them and accuses him of being a child predator. After Ella assures her mother that he was just trying to help, she calms down and invites Tom to come see Ella's dance. What a meet-cute. Tom and Lisa hit it off, and after a 1-minute montage, they've been together for 5 months and everything is wonderful. Except for one thing. It's December. Christmas time.
What could possibly go wrong?
And Lisa is about to discover that Tom is a Christmas fanatic. She comes to visit Tom's house and is horrified to see it covered, floor to ceiling, in all manner of Christmas decorations. Lisa reacts terribly. She immediately tears into Tom, questioning his motives, criticizing the cost of the decorations, and just generally being an incredibly unpleasant person. Tom continues to be very kind and understanding. He's not offended by her reaction, more deflated. Lisa leaves his apartment questioning whether or not she should stay with Tom over this, because he likes Christmas. Jesus. And she doesn't even know the worst of it yet. Lisa decides she's going to give Christmas a chance. So Tom takes her and Ella on some of his annual Christmas events, softening her up to the holiday. On December 6th, he drops the bomb. At a dinner with Hassan and Lisa's friend Sharon, Tom can't hold it in anymore.
I believe in Santa Claus.
Tom tells Lisa that he believes in Santa Claus. It's an insane conversation.
What if the believers are right and the doubters are wrong?
Like in the third grade?
No, like always.
It's absolutely surreal. It's what makes this movie, this scene.
So you think that there's a real guy who travels around the world in one night and brings presents to everybody?
Well, just to children, but yes.
Because Tom sells his belief hard. You know, something like a flat earther. He believes it all.
So you believe that this guy has a sleigh and it's pulled by reindeer. Reindeer can fly, and he has a sack that's full of millions of toys.
Yep, all that.
In every detail. Santa and elves and the North Pole, all that shit.
Yep, all that.
When Lisa and her friend, clearly in shock, try to explain why it doesn't make sense.
But that's not possible, Tom.
Tom blows him off, saying that it's magic.
Oh, so you think that magic is real?
Of course, he only believes in Christmas magic.
Yeah.
Not witches or sorcerers or what have you. But Christmas magic is what makes all of the impossible things that Santa does possible. Have you ever had a real long conversation with a Mormon or a Muslim or really just any sort of fundamentalist believer? It's very much like that.
Okay, how does he get around the entire world in one night? And don't just say Christmas magic.
Just like God is the answer to all of their crazy impossible stories. Christmas magic is the answer to Tom's, and he seems completely secure in his beliefs. He says that it's crazy to think that there's a conspiracy theory that the billions of parents around the world are involved in to lie to their children about Santa existing.
Right? That seems a lot less logical than there's a real person with Christmas magic that we celebrate.
He's showing a stunning lack of critical thinking skills, and, might I add, a certain amount of willful ignorance. He knows that most people don't believe in Santa. He knew that Lisa was going to react badly. So he knows that people lie to their children. It's not a conspiracy. It's a tradition, Tom. There's no conspiracy to everyone shooting fireworks on the 4th either, or eating candy on Halloween. That's not how conspiracies work. He ends his argument by essentially saying that the special feeling we get during Christmas time has to be the result of a supernatural force. Absolutely nuts. And Lisa would be perfectly within reason to dump this psychopath over it. Of course, she doesn't.
Shut the front door.
They end up going out a few more times, in part because she plans on writing a Christmas article about him.
Christmas.
Gross. Kind of fucked up. But eventually, she gets fed up, and she reveals why she hates Christmas. When she was 7 years old, she found Barbie in her parents' closet, her Christmas gift from Santa. Excited, she told her parents about it. They took the Barbie back to the store and blamed Lisa for spoiling the surprise. And she never recovered from that trauma. And ever since, she has hated Santa Claus. So Lisa breaks up with Tom, even though she clearly still loves him. But when Ella needs help building a cardboard sled, she sends her over with Sharon so that Tom can build it with her. That's pretty inappropriate. If she's done with Tom, she should not be sending her daughter over to bond with him. Weird. Lisa and Tom reunite at the sled race, where Tom reveals Ella's sled, with a design inspired by Santa's own. They win, of course, thanks to a special design element that allows them to fly through the air and jump into first. Whee! In the denouement, Lisa and Tom come to a compromise on Christmas, and Lisa writes a nice little article for her e-zine. How sweet. It gets 5 points in Community for all of the events that Tom takes Lisa and Ella to. 1 point in Wonder because the end of the film implies that Santa really does exist when Ella gets a gift under the tree that neither Tom nor Lisa can account for.
You can't argue with logic like that.
1 point in Magic for the same. 4 points in Generosity for Tom's generous spirit. I mean, he starts the film giving free legal advice. He ends it by helping Ella build her sled at the last minute. He embodies a spirit of giving. 3 points in Growth for Tom and Lisa compromising on their opinions on Christmas. 5 points in Snow for all of the snowy activities in the film, snowball fights and sledding and the general Colorado winter atmosphere. 3 points in Santa for the mall Santa they visit, for the inflatable Santa that Lisa walks into, for the robot Santa that Tom has in his home, and, of course, for that unaccounted gift that Santa leaves for Ella on Christmas Day.
Santa is real.
You can't argue with logic like that.
I Believe in Santa is the best Christmas film, according to the infallible Quigmas system. It's not the best film on this list, but I can safely say it's the one that I'm most likely going to return to, just because of John Ducey's crazy Santa truther character.
He obviously lives in a different version of time than we do.
What's that now?
Great stuff. So, there you have it. 15 films to remind you of the most wonderful time in the world. Forget those New Year's resolutions. Forget the melting snow. Forget that looming tax return. Get those Christmas cookies baking in the oven. Drag those Christmas lights back out of the closet. Go chop down a sustainably grown Christmas tree and put on a highly rated Quigmas movie. Because you deserve it. Season be damned. Get back that Christmas feeling. This is the other half of Film signing off. I'll see you next year. Maybe in summer.
Physically, she's all right. Minor concussion.
For reasons we can't explain, we are losing her.
She's dying.
We don't know why. She has lost the will to live.
Or something like it.